one of the things that you and I had talked about was how emotional attunement as a couple is incredibly important, because if you are a couple that struggles with knowing what emotions your partner are experiencing or going through or trying to work with, then you're going to have a really difficult time connecting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
They were trying to make a joke to try to lighten the mood.
Yeah.
But there are times where that actually ruins it. It makes it even worse because it's not allowing someone to climb the ladder back to positive through feeling and experiencing their emotions.
Conscious couples, business partners, and individuals, welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we share our life, love story, and relationship expertise to help you consistently cultivate the most magnificent relationship possible.
Never again will you feel hopeless and alone in your intimate relationship challenges. We'll help you have the courage to be your authentic self, communicate effectively, and constructively resolve conflict.
Having accumulated thousands of hours coaching, speaking, podcasting, and hosting live events with conscious couples all over the world, Alan and I are here to guide you in all things relationships.
Thank you again for tuning into the one place where it's not about you or me, it's about the we. Conscious couples and individuals, welcome back to the one and only Conscious Couples podcast, where we talk all things growth in relationships. Today we have episode 189 and 190. As you know, we've had a theme of a couple part 1 and part 2 episodes. That will be the case today. How to be more emotionally in tune with your partner. Before we jump into this episode, as always, we want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the producers of this show, Next Level Podcast Solutions. If you want to start, grow, scale, or monetize your podcast, reach out. We work with over 113 podcasters and business owners now. Reach out if you need help. We know what we're doing at this stage. Sweetheart, what is your intention for today's episode?
My intention for our listeners today is to learn some of the really important skill sets to be more in tune with your partner, specifically emotionally in tune. Yes, the feelings. Yes, the emotions. All those things that no one actually likes to talk about or likes to go deeper into.
Your lapel has fallen.
Alan's pointing to my microphone, which means that it has fallen. Olympus has fallen. Okay. Thank you for fixing that. So
you're welcome.
So you and I were on a relationship talks coaching call with a client of ours whom we adore. Shout out to you guys if you guys are listening. And this was one of, I would say, like 3 to 4. We're four calls in. And this couple they're in their mid-20s and they are headed down the rabbit hole of having moved in together. And they have big, exciting plans for the future coming down the pipeline. I will be respective of their privacy in that respect. And when they moved into the same place, obviously, there's a lot of things that ended up colliding in that, right? Because when you, as a couple, you're dating, you're going through that infatuation stage, and then you start to move in and get serious about life, and all these responsibilities start kind of hitting the forefront of your relationship. What you end up finding is that those little nuances about one another that maybe because you didn't live together didn't bother you or couldn't bother you, but now that you're living together, it kind of like you find each other's quirks. And we were on this relationship talks coaching call with them, and what I noticed was something that is incredibly important to both of them, but they didn't know how to say it or name it explicitly, was both of them being emotionally in tune with one another. So you and I started to take them through the 25 conscious love languages. And as we helped them clarify their top 3, that was extremely important for them in the next phase of their relationship, because what they learned through all of that is that one of their top 3s, which you actually named, was understanding your partner's traumas, triggers, and shame. And this couple was in this loop, and if we hadn't named this, they would continue in this loop where when the female in the relationship has a trigger or gets triggered in the relationship, she ends up kind of going into more quiet solitude collapse state. But the male in the relationship, because he is and has been conditioned to be that quote unquote typical dude where he doesn't feel feelings when someone else is feeling something, just try to make a joke and bring humor into the mix, that humor actually sends them into this really toxic spiral that doesn't actually allow them to connect and re-engage. So in other words, he's not emotionally in tune with his partner.
You used a great metaphor from the movie Inside Out. Can you share that with our listeners?
So what I had shared with them was that this lack of emotional attunement that's happening in your relationship is as a byproduct of the lack of emotional attunement with yourself. And so I said, for example, partner B, the male in this situation, when partner A, your female counterpart, goes into this state of sadness, or she gets triggered and she ends up trying to figure out within herself, what is it that she's upset about? And you go into humor, that tells me that there's parts of you that you're not really comfortable with being in that sadness with her, because all she really needs is just sense of validation. And they're kind of like, okay. And so I said, have you guys ever seen Inside Out 1? And they're like, yeah, great movie. Definitely watch it. But it's this moment where the character Bing Bong, for anyone that hasn't watched this, it's going to be hilarious. This character Bing Bong, he essentially loses his sled and he gets really sad. So he's sitting on the edge.
His brother is Ding Dong.
He's sitting on the edge of, I'm not even going to get into it, but he's in his sadness. And Joy, the character Joy, tries to go over to Bing Bong and say, hey, it's okay, just think happy thoughts, be positive, like it's totally fine. She tries to crack a joke in Bing Bong's sadness. Now, for anyone that's ever felt any sort of low emotional experience or what's called a low arousal emotion, like sadness, and someone tries to say, just think positive thoughts, right, and tries to be uplifting, it's extremely invalidating. And Joy in that film, in Inside Out 1, essentially was showcasing how emotionally out of tune she was to what Bing Bong in that moment really needed. Mm-hmm. Which in that moment, what Bing Bong really needed was validation, empathy, and compassion. And that's where sadness, the character sadness, a blue, really sweet, really sad and mopey character comes in and sits down shoulder to shoulder with Bing Bong and says, I'm so sorry you lost your sled. That really sucks. That's really sad. I'm so sorry. And just sits in that. Doesn't try to fix it. Doesn't try to tell Bing Bong to think happy thoughts and the sadness will go away. Just acknowledges the sadness that exists. And so I told them to watch, we told them to watch the film through the lens of how sadness really shines in that moment, because so many of us are so uncomfortable with low valence, low arousal emotions, which means those don't feel really good to experience. Sadness is a great experience if you can sit with it, but most people don't have value to the low valence, low arousal emotions like sadness, and therefore to try to get your partner into a better quote unquote state, you just say, everything's fine, it's all going to be okay, just babe, think happy thoughts. And this is what this partner was doing unintentionally. And so that scene,
well, they were trying to make a joke. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
They were trying to make a joke to try to lighten the mood.
Yeah.
But there are times where that actually ruins it. It makes it even worse because it's not allowing someone to climb the ladder back to positive through feeling and experiencing their emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wrote some questions for
Good.
you. Yeah.
I'm excited.
And the first one, strong work, by the way, trying to articulate a film. If you haven't seen Inside Out 1 or 2, first of all, shame on you. I'm joking. We don't say shame. Guilt
on you.
Guilt on you.
Upon thee.
Go watch them. They're awesome.
They're great.
They are great. And they definitely have a ton of emotional intelligence built into them.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Amy and Chris Lennius here to give a quick moment of appreciation for Alan and Emilia. We have been working with them for a few months now, maybe 6, maybe going on 6 months now, and we appreciate you guys so much. To see you guys work as a team, to help couples work as a team, is one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen. Not only have you helped us reconnect and helped us with our marriage, you've also helped us through big life moments, with boundaries, with creating our own stable unit at home. We appreciate you guys so, so much.
Yes, truly heartfelt. Appreciate you guys and everything you've done for us.
Thanks, guys. We
Thanks.
love you.
So we had an interview with a woman named Shada. Shout out to Shada if you're listening. And this was the third or fourth time we've interviewed with her. I know you went on her show, then I went on her show, and then you and I have been on twice.
Yep.
What about that interview brought up, because that's actually the real reason. These are two things that happened in tandem. The experience with those clients and this interview with Shada. What about that interview has to do with being in tune with your partner emotionally?
One of the things that Shada had interviewed us as, I don't want to say she's mentioned the dynamic duo. She refers to us as the dynamic duo. Other people refer to us as like a power couple, but like at the end of the day, we are a conscious couple that are emotionally in tune with one another. And in that interview, she did an excellent job from my perspective, asking really meaningful questions that got into what she said. She wanted to learn more about the emotions and how those play in when it comes to a conscious couple. And we just kind of scraped the surface of the iceberg from my perspective in that interview. But one of the things that you and I had talked about was how emotional attunement as a couple is incredibly important, because if you are a couple that struggles with knowing what emotions your partner are experiencing or going through or trying to work with, then you're going to have a really difficult time connecting. And conscious couples are individuals who not only value emotions and don't pathologize them, but also recognize the value of emotional intelligence and then work on their skill development to have what we refer to in that episode as emotional literacy. So for example, I actually brought a prop right here today. Alan doesn't know about this.
Nice. It's like, did you bring the love fern?
I didn't bring a love fern. But
One time on a Relationship Talks event, I randomly pulled out a love fern. It was hilarious. Nice.
So I have this prop for anyone that's listening and not watching us on YouTube or a video platform. This is what's called the emotions wheel. It's a pillow I have that essentially has the emotions wheel on it. And essentially there's 3 rings. Think about like a target or a dartboard, where the center is essentially the primary quote unquote emotions that are well known throughout different cultures.
Are we going to put an asset in the show
We
notes?
absolutely can, for
All
sure.
right, so click the link in the show notes. We will put a digital asset of this so that you can download it when you are not driving.
Yeah. And fun fact, Isabel actually just sent me a picture of this.
Nice.
She works at TJX and she's developing for 2027 a whole line of wellness products. And she's like, Emilia,
Nice.
this is your... Anyways, they had a pillow of this.
Isabel is
Isabel's my
Emilia's sister.
So anyway, shout
Shout out to
So
Bella.
why I bring this forward is because I didn't have it in Shada's podcast, but how many couples actually know, even just when the center point of these emotions, and I'll name them surprise, happy, sad, disgust, anger, and fear, right? Like how many people actually know just the first layer of the target? Now, when you look at a conscious couple, I would hope that the at least goal, we talked about goals in the last 2 episodes that we had done, a goal that would be really helpful and healthy for couples to do and to have to support one another is to understand when the difference between fear and surprise comes up, or the difference between disgust and anger come up in your body. And also then to know when your partner is experiencing the first layer of emotions, how to know what it looks like on your partner. So when I pulled out that pillow, your emotional experience was surprise, right? So if we were
And happy, for sure.
surprise, happy, maybe confusion in there. So
Slightly angry. I'm fucking with you.
profusely
disgusted.
searing disgust. But like that moment, we are sentiment beings, and so therefore we feel.
What does sentiment being?
Or sentient. We feel. We're
Yeah.
feeling creatures, right? Like we're not rocks that don't have emotions. We have
Yeah,
emotions and they're happening at all times. So being emotionally in tune with one another is knowing what you're experiencing, and you can name it. Having emotional literacy is being able to name what you're feeling, not just on the first wheel of the emotion, but going even deeper into the nuance of emotions. And so emotional literacy is a language that when we were taught growing up, it was the ABCs. Right next to that and in tandem to that would have benefited all of us to understand the feel wheel and the needs wheel, because we are human beings that feel and have needs. But yet most of us were only taught the ABCs, or our quote unquote language that allowed us to interact with one another. So kind of back to this couple and back to this interview, what it really fleshed out is how important it is, at least from my perspective as a conscious couple, to help encourage other couples to do essentially the legwork that our system, our parents, people of past generations didn't do with us, to be able to connect better as a couple and to be able to work through difficult moments. So for example, that couple, there was a time that they were expressing, this was after you had to go to your next call, but I stayed on for a little while. And I had said, you know, what's been going on lately with you guys? How can we support you over the next 2 weeks? That's the question that I always ask. And they, in a roundabout way, they had said more homework, which is awesome. We never get that. And they said, you know, tangible movies will be great. Awesome. So we gave them tacticals. But in the interim, they had shared a story with me that one partner A, the female, had said at one point or another, I'm annoyed with you, to her partner. And that really hurt him. For her to say, I'm annoyed with you, that was like a character. I am annoyed at who you are as a person. And when someone receives those words, it feels like daggers to the heart. And I checked in with a male and I was, you know, on the surface level, his behavior was really like protective. She didn't see how much it hurt him because all of his protectors were there. And therefore, the emotional intelligence or the emotional attunement that could have happened in that moment could have really brought them together, where she went into what she calls a Hulk mode of just kind of like, F you, I'm annoyed at you. Like that kind of dance that activated his humorous part, makes a joke and then leaves. So that is not connection. That is complete disconnection. And if couples consistently create this cycle of disconnection and not emotional attunement, instead of saying, actually, a part of me feels really hurt that you just said that, or a part of me is really sad that you have to go right now, or just using language that actually describes what the innermost feeling that you do have with your partner, that can build so much connection. So one of their homework suggestion was literally just 3 times a day, say, fill in the blank, ad lib style, a part of me feels, and then fill in the blank.
A part of me feels blank.
A part of me feels blank.
Because
anger,
blank.
sad, whatever. Like I didn't even have them say the because. I just want them getting into the practice of naming what they feel.
And they say a part of me because it's not all of you.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. We love connecting with the Conscious Couples community, so please check the show notes to connect with us and say hello on social media.
If you and your partner resonated with this episode, please leave us a 5-star review at the link in the show notes and share this with someone you love. Until next time, it's not about you or me, it's about the we. We'll talk to you next time.